Are you going to do your... Take one.
Action. Go ahead, action.
Well, welcome to the Blue Star Connection. We had a little disconnect there, but that's okay. Welcome on this wonderful July, was it 15th? Yes. July 15th at 7:30. Kim and I are happy to be here with you all. We are going to go over some wonderful things tonight, some really neat little principles, and see where it takes us. We're going to start before we get going here with the eternal teachings that Christopher Timms does before he starts most of his podcast or teachings or anything like that. So I asked you to sit back, relax, close your eyes, and just take a nice deep breath in and slowly let it out. And one more deep breath in and slowly let it out. There is an essence that binds and sustains and is all life. This essence, this living presence, is the oneness that you are. The oneness that you are. Shapeless, formless, and eternal are you, with no boundaries, no containers. You were never born, so you can never die. This is the oneness that you are. This is the oneness that you are. With nothing to grow into and nothing to become, you are all life. You are all life. There's no separation between you and me, the air that we breathe, the sun that shines upon us, or the earth that we walk on. No separation at all. All life is one. Always has been, always will be. And this oneness that is the air and the earth, this is the oneness that is the seasons for the harvest and the laughter of the children. This is the oneness that you are. This is the oneness that you are. This cannot be taught to you, for this is not to be understood. This is only to be experienced, appreciated, and realized. Accept this and be free. Accept this and be free. Accept this, all of this, and be. Just be. Just be. Just be. Take a nice, slow, deep breath in. And slowly let it out. Take another deep breath in. And slowly let it out. Now placing your tongue on the roof of your mouth to help ground you. And when you're comfortable, open up your eyes. Welcome. How are you, Kim?
I'm doing great today. How are things going over in your neck of the woods?
Very well. It's hot and humid up here in Michigan, and we're now getting the smoke from Minnesota and from Canada. So the skies this evening are turning cloudy and kind of hazy.
Smoke? What do you mean smoke? What do you mean smoke? You said smoke. What do you mean?
Smoke from the forest fires that Canada's having and Minnesota's having right now.
Okay.
They're coming our way.
I don't watch the news, so
That's okay.
you are my news.
So, and my husband was telling me this evening that up by the top part of the state here, they're starting to receive some of the ash that's falling from the forest fires up in Canada that are coming over, and I believe a little bit from Minnesota. It's kind of hard to decipher whose smoke is whose smoke. So, but yeah, we're starting to get a little hazy around here. Other than that, I've had a great day. Did a lot of running around and accomplished a lot of things. But that's been my day. How about yours?
Just getting quite a bit of work done. I had a chat with a good friend this morning, so that was a great way to start the day. I'm raring to go on our podcast tonight, so excited to share what we've drummed up for y'all. And I guess that's my day.
Okay. Well, shall we start with our podcast tonight is Ancient Wisdom for the Modern Life. We're going to kind of see what we can do to put a couple different philosophies together and see what we come up with. This is just kind of be an overall. Neither one of us are experts. We're learning as we go along, so hope you enjoy the ride, because here we go.
Here it goes. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Hermetic principles for a series of who knows how many. If you watched our Art of the Warrior, went five podcasts. Anyhow, this series is about the Hermetic principles. We're going to explore Hermes Trismegistus and the Kabbalion, which is written by the three initiates. I feel like I got something in my face. Three initiates, and it gives the Hermetic principles. And we're going to explore a little bit about Thoth and the Emerald Tablet and why that is related to the Hermetic principles and other thinkers and kind of what they contribute to those kind of teachings. Yeah, that's our plan for the next few months.
Probably.
Years. No, I was just kidding. It won't be years.
There's a lot of stuff. So we've got lots of material to cover, and we're just going to take short little bits of it as we go along. And, we're all open for people to chime in and ask questions or make comments or put something in the chat, because there's a lot. So, sit back, relax, and shall we start?
Cool.
Okay. So, Hermetic philosophy is not a religion. It's a way of looking at reality. And as I'm listening and learning more about it, I can see how it's more of a way of looking at reality. So it's kind of neat. So the purpose, our purpose of this series is not to be a history class, not a debate, not to convince you or change any of your beliefs. We're looking to expound your knowledge and give you stuff to chew on, and maybe live a more conscious and meaningful life, and to invite you to challenge yourself and your assumptions about life. Then the hope is to have an open mind, to be more curious, and have some good questions. Ask us questions, ask yourself questions, ask other people questions. It's always good to ask questions. When you don't know something, ask. Be willing to discover new ways of understanding yourself and the world around us. So, what happens if we live through these principles, what happens if we live as these principles were true? So, would they change or improve your life? Would they, who would you become? How would you respond to difficulties? And ancient wisdom isn't valuable because it's old. It helps us live a better today. Each episode that we're doing here will help us focus on a couple questions. So, like we said, we learn a lot from ancient wisdom. You know, a lot of their stuff applies to us today. And, you know, many of us think it's just something in the past, but you can see a lot of correlation between now and way back, you know, when Earth was different. So here is one question to kind of mull on, is what did the ancient teachers mean? And what might that mean for us today? So those are two questions you can kind of just have them roll around in your head and think about. Kim.
Right, that's what we're trying to figure out in this series. Well, not figure out, but contemplate, because I doubt we can be sure we know, because we were not in their heads, we weren't there. But we want to start by discussing, before we even get into the Hermetic principles, on why we even look at these texts that have all this ancient knowledge. Some of them are actually ancient texts, some of them are written about ancient teachings. But why are we even discussing that today? So we've got 11 points we want to make about why this is valuable, or why do people even care? Because have you ever thought, why pinpoint, why do we care? So the first reason we might want to study ancient texts, or ancient teachings, I should say, is they speak to questions that never go away. Things change, you know, you move, people change, governments change, but humans as a whole, we don't really change that much, and we've been asking the same questions for thousands of years, which, if you've been following Christopher, some people ask, who am I? Where have I come from? Where am I going? You know, why am I here? Those sort of questions, but also questions like, why do I suffer? Or can people really change? Is there a deeper meaning to life? Or how should I live my life? And the Hermetic teachings kind of follow, people look to them to help them live their lives today, so they can kind of understand what's going on. And I think in a way that gives you peace, because you can look at the world and understand why, and kind of know how to navigate it better. Or like Joseph says in his podcast, navigating the transformation. So anyhow, anyway, yeah. Do you have any comments about just being the questions that people keep asking over the eons?
Right, and a lot of it is, you know, like you said, Christopher does the 5 essential questions, you know, who am I, where am I going, why am I here? I'm trying to think of the other 2, but anyways, but yeah, when I started looking into the different teachings that we're kind of looking at today and throughout, I can see how the 7 principles, at least with the Cabal, with their 7 principles, how they can react and answer questions or give you food for thought on how the world actually is kind of working around. And it's interesting to see those 7 principles that kind of also, they don't kind of, a lot of, the more I study different types of ancient teachings or ancient philosophies and that, there's a lot of common threads to them. And so I see a lot of Christopher's teachings within these. I see a lot of teachings of other people that that we've studied or looked at, like, so it's just interesting on how these ancient teachings, ancient philosophies have like molded different ways of thinking, different other modalities that are out there. So
Yeah.
But do you have anything else?
I think that's all I have to say on that.
Okay. So then we have now the possibility of number 2. They describe something timeless about human nature. So, like Kim said, our technologies change, the way we live change. But if you also look in the modern world, not everybody has changed like the modern era. There's still people living their lives very simple, but in more first world countries, we have a lot of the modern technologies. But if you go into a third world country, they have different technologies. They have different ways of living. So it's interesting in how, we always, not, I shouldn't say always, but the way we look at things isn't necessarily a one-way street. It can go many ways. So, people look at ancient Egyptian and experience things like love, fear, jealousy, and ambition, grief, hope, curiosity. All these things they had back then, we're all doing the same thing now. So a lot of the tools have changed, but our experiences haven't changed as much. They're very similar to the way we are today, just with different technologies. So yeah, so that's kind of neat how way back then we think of them not living kind of like us, but in reality they probably had lives similar to us, just different types of homes, different types of mode of transportation. So yeah, kind of neat.
Yeah, I think that sums it up. I mean, people have been cheating on their wives and their husbands and
Okay.
and murdering people and stealing and loving and having children. I mean, it's just the same. I mean, you love, you hate, you work hard, you play. It's timeless. So.
Yep. So.
Anything more on that before we move on?
Let's go on to possibility number 3, Kim.
Oh, I forgot to warn you at the beginning. I'm warning y'all. I've got some new props. So they might pop up on a podcast coming near you. Okay, so why studying the ancient texts? Maybe we study them because they focus on recurring patterns, not historical events. So it's the timelessness of a pattern that everything changes. It cycles around. Not just that it changes, but it spirals, actually, I shouldn't say, circles around. We're spiraling up, and we're living the same, but a different octave. Did I say that right? I know Christopher talks about, it's the same pattern, just a little higher perspective as we move up and learn. Jacob's ladder.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, life moves in cycles. Cause produces effects. So that's a pattern that we see. That's what it points out. And another thing we see often in ancient teachings is that the perspective shapes our experience, and opposites exist on a continuum. Those are some examples of just the patterns that we can see in the teachings more than historical events, whether or not the Christian Bible is historical in a way or not, or whatever. There's still those patterns in there.
Yep. Cycles move up and down, around and around. You have your cause and effect. It just kind of goes with the 7 Hermetic different principles, and that with just everything is moving, motion, pendulums, flexibility, pulsatings. There's so much that we don't realize that goes on in our lives. But when you start looking at these 7 different, which we'll be getting to towards the end of what those 7 are, but it's just interesting how they kind of all meld together with these questions or these things that we gave examples of today. So
perfect. All right, let's move on.
So possibility number 4, to observe rather than simply believe. Hermetic ideas often begin with observation. Observe before saying something. Instead of saying, believe this, they seem to ask questions. So, did you notice? Do relationships reflect inner attitudes? Does changing your perspective change your experiences? Does everything seem to move in cycles? These are questions you can explore on in your own life. And these are great questions to just kind of ask you randomly throughout the day, or just, if you have set time aside for like little meditations, you could take one of those questions and just kind of look at it. How are my relationships affecting my inner attitude? Does the relationship with this person affect me? How does it affect me inside? Am I allowing it to affect me, or am I able to be the wind between the trees and just kind of let it blow through me? So there's that. We can see cycles all the time. We see season changes from summer. Right now we have summer to, then we go through the fall equinox to the winter solstice, and just those cycles that way, the 24-hour cycle. Then you have the monthly cycle, and everything has a cycle to it. Not everybody looks at it that way because we're not really programmed to look at it as in cycles. So those are some of my thoughts. What about you, Kim?
Yeah, like the water cycle and that sort of thing, and mountain building and wearing down, erosion. Well, here's where my thoughts were going. So yeah, there's lots of cycles that we really can't control. We have no, we just have to live with them. But that got me thinking, what cycles do we create ourselves, but not in a good way? Because some people, they might celebrate Christmas, and that's a cycle.
Yep.
They're perpetuating the cycle and the get together and whatever they do in their traditions. But what about like a cycle where you're sabotaging a relationship, or you're picking the wrong guy again? And how much are we creating our own patterns that we don't have to be subject to?
Yep.
So as we go through the series, and like you said, Kelly, we want to know, what do they mean in these teachings, but how can we apply them to our lives now? Why would we even study them? Just to pretend we're smart? I don't know. But anyhow, that's where my brain was going, was like, oh, I wonder what, we're not the victim, we're the perpetrator.
I don't want to be the perpetrator either. No.
We don't want to be the perp.
No, thank you.
So that was my addition to that segment. Anything more?
All right. No.
Okay, no more comments on what I said. Okay, we're moving on to why we keep coming back to them, because humanity just seems to rediscover them periodically. we go a while where it's forgotten. Things get forgotten, even though they try to write it down for us. They'll even write it down in stone for us, like the hieroglyphs in the temples in Egypt. They say at one point in Plato's time, I don't remember when that was, before Christ, I think, and how he said that the adepts, meaning the working to be a master, they couldn't even read the hieroglyphs anymore. They had lost that knowledge, which just seems crazy. How could you not pass it on? But that's a story for another day on my.
But it's also, yeah, it's
What?
like the Gnostic text, until you're ready, when people are ready, the knowledge will come. So the Gnostic text in the 30s and 40s, right?
Right. I think it was around 47 when, was it Neptune or Uranus was discovered? One of those. And all kinds of changes. The atomic bomb had come in, and the age of Aquarius was dawning, right?
Yep.
And now we're really in the transition, and hopefully it's the quick one where it might be hardcore, but I think it's better than drawn out and agonizing. I don't know if it's going to be that way.
Exactly.
But I want to see it, so I want to hear. I want to help. I want to be part. I want to be a bodhisattva.
There you go.
So if you don't know what that means, you got to look back at our Art of the Warrior series. So, yeah, was there something more I wanted to say on that? Oh, so we forget what's going on, and the example I have is meditation, where I know it didn't get totally forgotten, of course, but it wasn't around the world like it is now. We understand some understanding of what meditation is, whether you believe it's guided or not or whatever. I don't really care. But it wasn't that it was ever lost or that it wasn't valuable anymore, but the value was rediscovered. And people are using it now. So, and back what I was kind of delaying talking about, but I'm going to talk about it now, is the Kali Yuga. Have you heard of that, Kelly?
No.
The Kali Yuga. It is a time, it's a cycle. There's cycles, I can't remember. There's Dwapara Yuga that we're going into. But you know how our galaxy is kind of like on a plate? It's a spiral, but it's kind of flat. When we're we're on the edge of a little spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, and sometimes we're a little higher than the plate, and sometimes we go below the plate, and sometimes we're a little low, and we don't get the energy from galactic center. We weren't getting that, and when we're low on that, that is when humanity seems to go into a dumbing down. So that's my theory, that we were going into that space where all those stars or planets or whatever is in our galaxy, asteroids, are blocking that energy getting to us. And then now we're getting into where we're going to be learning and going into like a Bronze Age, Silver, Golden Age, and then unfortunately, the cycle's going to come again, and the ancients knew it, and that is why they put things in stone. And they hid them away, like the Gnostic texts. Are those the ones that were found in vessels like vases in the caves? Is that what?
I think so.
Yeah, one of those ancient texts, the Dead Sea Scrolls of the Gnostic texts.
Yep.
One of those. So anyway, we just rediscover them periodically. Your turn.
Nice. My turn? Possibility number 6.
Okay.
Speaking in symbols. So ancient wisdom isn't limited to just one time, one place. They use symbols. We have symbols around us. A lot of times, many of us don't even realize we're seeing symbols. Um, they hold messages. They can, they're teachers. They're bridges between worlds. They're symbols that help us describe things in experiences today. But they can also kind of shape our thinking, and they can shape the way um, we look at things in that. So, and there's lots of symbols around in that people don't even realize that they're there, and so they can have hidden messages in them. So, um, or when you speak, back then they would speak like Christopher talks about when someone was going out on a journey, and so when they would come back from their journey, they would then do a dance instead of talking and didn't have words to describe their journey. They would sit there and do dance. They would dance and act out their different ways of what they had learned, and so that's a way of having symbols and showing your tribe what you had experienced, and they learned it through that dance. um so there's symbols everywhere. What do you think, Kim?
I agree with you, Kelly. And you were talking about the symbols that are all around us, and we see them, and we may not even be aware of what it triggers in us, but the meaning is like inside of us. I don't even know how to explain it. There's a book, I don't remember the fancy name of it, but it was called Deconstructing the Universe, and it's kind of the symbolism of what does the number one mean. It's the monad, it's a point or whatever, I forget. I think I'm on number 5. I haven't finished the book, but it was really interesting about it was talking about the different corporations and how they know that it's in our psyche, and they'll use it like MasterCard or the 2 circles, and they go together like how you start making the flower of life. And I forget exactly what it probably symbolizes, trust or something, or unit or joining or something like that they want you to inspire just subconsciously and spend your money with them, I guess.
Yep.
Obviously, that's the point of corporations, right? Is to make a profit.
Right.
Not judging. That's what it is. And yeah, that's what I would add to that. And Hermes is one of those symbols, I would suppose.
Yep. Yeah, because he became a Greek god, so that also had different meanings there too, with the Greeks. But I think we're getting in there a little bit later, so I don't want to indulge too much in that. So, but anyways,
I guess I'll do number 7. Modern science keeps asking similar questions. So the questions didn't really change, it just evolved a little bit. Like psychology, they might ask, how do beliefs shape behavior? But neuroscience asks, how does perception construct your experience? And even physics is getting into it with, what is the fundamental nature of reality? Is it string theory? Is it, I don't even know what they talk about. My education on that is like from Big Bang Theory years ago. I don't remember if it's stringy or is it fluffy. I don't remember.
You don't have a Sheldon in your back pocket?
No, and I'm not that eidetic memory or whatever that word is. I can't remember the word. Okay, so anyway, yeah, so similar questions that science today is asking that they were asking back then, and so we're still curious, still looking for more answers, and and just evolving as we figure things out. New questions arise, I would say.
Yeah.
How about?
Well, I feel like our modern sciences these days are finding that some of the things that the ancients talked about, or the ancient scientists or philosophers or whatever, that they're discovering a lot of the things that they said are true. Um, and that with the planets, with behavior, with just different constructs and how things work, they're they're seeing how some of these things that they've talked about way back when are like, wow, that was true. And I I kind of feel that a lot of our thoughts in that of ancient times were, they weren't that smart. They didn't have the technology to find all this stuff out. How did they really know what this stuff meant, or how did they really know this? And so I think I feel that a lot of times up until now, a lot of it was kind of, per se, poo-pooed, that they don't know what they're talking about, but now it's coming full circle around, and they're like, huh, well, maybe there is some truth to this, or maybe there's some truth to that. Wow, I guess we're being able to prove that this is actually what's going on and not that. And so I feel like those questions just keep getting asked because they just keep bringing, that more curiosity, that more forethought, that brings out more experiments and more types of way of looking at how do we figure this out. And we're seeing it now. A lot of the stuff is coming to light. It's like, oh yes, back in Egypt, back in Greece, when they were doing this experiment or that, wow, they were right, and I wish I had some of those thoughts in my mind. But as I was listening to some of um, the one audiobook on the Cabal, they were giving examples of how modern science is looking at how different things are shaping our world, and how they're discovering that the ancient people, they had a lot going on. They knew a lot, and we need to give them more credit than we have in the past.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they built pyramids. Whoever did. I mean, maybe it wasn't humans. I don't know. When they're, but I mean, still, civilizations were advanced. They built aqueducts, and what was the other thing I was thinking as you were talking? I can't remember what it was, but still, I should have made a note. Anyhow, yeah, they are quite a, like the astronomy that they knew, and figuring out, oh, well, there must be a planet there because that thing is wobbling, and it's like, okay.
Exactly. I mean,
like, I even care to look at the night sky like that. I don't.
I love looking at the night sky, so it always fascinates me.
But I'm not trying to like analyze it.
Well, that's true. I'm mesmerized more than I'm trying to figure it out. So.
All right. We're ready. Move on.
Okay, so possibility number 8. They keep working. So there are 8 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ideas. So things to, and a lot of this is, I would say, improvements on oneself, but like, know yourself, know how you tick, know what gets you riled up, what doesn't, know how you act. Paying attention to your thoughts, are you having good thoughts about yourself? Are you not having good thoughts about yourself? Are you looking at somebody and making prejudgments on somebody? Are you there's all kinds of thoughts that go through your head, or are you waking up in the middle of the night with your to-do list? And and so those are things that we all keep working on. And then living in harmony with nature. So when stuff doesn't seem to be going right, do you go out in nature? Do you put your feet in the grass? Do you hug a tree? Do you go for a walk? Do you play in water? Do you go for hikes if you're living by the mountains? Do you go play in the ocean if you live in the ocean, or if you live in the ocean? Well, if you're a sea creature, I guess if you live in the ocean, you play in the ocean. Um, and then everything changes. Are you able to adapt to change? Are you able to you know be able to find the good things or not the good things in life? How does that work? And then all your actions have consequences, good, bad, and indifferent. Everything that we do has a consequence, whether we realize it or not. Most of the time, I feel like we think of consequences as doing something bad. I ran a red light, so the consequence now is I got a ticket, or I hit somebody. That's a consequence. Well, what about a consequence is, you know what? I studied my butt off for this exam and I aced it. That's a great consequence. But we don't think of a consequence as a positive necessarily all the time, as we do we think of it more as a negative kind of notation. So, so people can find just working on ourselves and find them useful in our everyday life, and be able to explain and look at us or our culture the way it is by knowing yourself, which knows, if you think that we're all we're all one. So you can kind of think about, is this what other people are thinking, or is this something different? How are my thoughts compared to what somebody else is thinking? So, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I guess we keep studying the ancient teachings. Like you said, they're useful because they're good advice. It's good perspective. It's understanding the world around us, and the human psyche, and all those jealousy and anger and love and
Yep.
betrayal and all those good. I think of Shakespearean plays. They probably have everything in them, though I'm not a fan. Just saying. That's what I've gleaned over the years.
Yeah.
And I've also, figured out I don't want to. I don't want to watch.
You don't want to watch Shakespeare?
No, I had enough in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Joseph put something in the comment, and he said, attitude, attention, and awareness. Everything comes from the 3 A's. I like that, Joseph. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, that's a Christopher teaching.
Yep. Attitude, attention, and awareness. Things to keep working on. Attitude, attention, and awareness.
Okay. All right. Are we moving on?
I was just going to say that we don't know how it's going to turn out unless we are always watching for the attitude, attention, awareness. If you're paying attention to yourself, you know if you're in a good mood or a bad mood. You know if you're feeling good. You know if you're feeling bad. It's sort of like that brings to you what you're feeling. That's the biggest part of it, is your feeling. And the attention to that, if you don't want what you were feeling to come back, you say, I can change that now. That's your attention, and your awareness makes you aware that you're able to do that. And all those have to take place at the same time every time something happens. Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to be all 3 of those, monitoring each part of you the same sort of way. And that's why you have all these signs that they're showing you You see, when you see a new sign, you don't know what it means. Well, if you don't know what it means, you can make it up if you want to, just by having the right attitude, the right attention, and the right awareness combined for that. And even if that, whatever it was that you didn't understand, wasn't that, it would suddenly start becoming a hybrid because of your influence over all of that. We all have that capability. We influence the things that we can't see before we see them. So we have to always be aware of that, because that's how you change everything, and that's how you become everything that you want to become. So you want to be grateful for that right from the beginning. Grateful that you can do the future now. You're doing it by having a great attitude, a great attention, and great awareness of all the things in your area, which includes you, of course. So,
Thank you for that.
I think of it as being my greatest challenge is to keep being aware of all those three things. It's the hardest thing to do, because you get caught up in the things that you're doing instead of the things that you're being. So every time you start doing something, that's when you got to think, okay, I have to be aware now of what I'm doing, and how I'm feeling, and how it's going. That's why Christopher has the light, sound, and presence as something you look at often, but not continuously. You got to keep making sure you're being you and not something else. And the thing, the biggest thing about that comes to my mind is that there are many days when the planets and the stars are all affecting us in ways we don't realize. And those are the times when you're going to notice the most, whether it's good or bad, emotions come up. You're going to notice those during those times, and you have to recognize right away, that's not me, or it is me. If it is me, how do I change that? If it's not me, how do I change that? Those things can be true, and you have to pay attention to that as well and decide. That's what you're doing when you take your presence anywhere. You're just deciding to perceive something. So I like to see it with some good eyes. I think it's going to be a good thing. Not worry about it too much. Otherwise, you never know what's going to come with it. Most of us don't. I think most of us have.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you, Joseph. So, if you are aware that you're having a feeling, and let's go with an uncomfortable feeling when you don't want, and so you would first, from what you said, if I got it right, you're going to decide, is this even because my feeling or just because of whatever energies are around me?
Right.
And then if it's not, if it's energies around you that you don't, I mean, you have no control of the sun and all that, right?
Yeah.
And, but if it is within your control, then what do you do?
If it's what?
If it's in your control, this feeling, let's say I'm feeling jealousy or something.
Well, if you feel that, that's what those kind of things you can easily tell yourself whether or not it's really being you or not. Sort of like, is it your nature to be that way, or is it something you're perceiving to be that way?
So, but what's causing that? What's causing that feeling? Where do you go? Where do I? Something's causing the feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't want that feeling. So what do I change to change my
you must allow the feeling to be there. There's nothing wrong with that feeling being there.
Right.
Okay. You just have to decide not to act on it.
Okay, so what if there's a thought that makes me feel that way? I can feel the feeling and I can stop feeling it because it, did its thing, but I keep having the same thought again. I'll just keep recreating the same feeling, right?
Right. Yeah. It's coming from internal, something you've already experienced somewhere in your life. It could have been recent. It could be far away. You don't know about that part, unless you do know about that part. Okay. If you do, if it's something recent, you're going to be aware of it. So that's how you decide how to place your attention, and it's how you decide what kind of person am I going to be through this experience. You come. Do you want to keep having it? Do you want to keep having the experience, or do you want it to be gone?
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Joseph, you need to choose wisely.
Right. Right. Yes. Very good. You got a sign for that. That's good. That's right. Choose right.
Yeah, I got my profit.
Yeah. Glad you had that.
So you can change your attention, and this is sort of like manifestation, is it not? Right?
So like what?
Manifestation. You know, you're not dreaming it, but you're putting your attention where you want.
Well, sometimes many of the things that come to you come as a result of your dreams. You may not realize that you dreamed it, but sometimes that's what causes it. I can say that, but dream can cause it. Yeah.
That horizontal, eyes closed, spiritual travel, some people call dreaming.
No, just regular nighttime dreaming can cause it. You should have remembered some of it somewhere along the line, but maybe not. Most of the time, when I had my dream period, that was more like in my 30s. It was like I would dream a dream and remember it for just a short time after it happened. Then I'd forget all about it. And I was in Saudi Arabia during this time. So during that time, we worked a schedule where you got 4 weeks off every 6 weeks. So on my 6 weeks off, I go on vacation. On my 4 weeks off, I go on vacation. And I experienced some of these dreams without realizing they were my dreams initially. It took me, I think, about 3 trips before I figured out what was happening.
That sounds cool. So you're on, people, if you didn't know, Joseph is on Monday night for his podcast coming up. So maybe you can share some of those stories with us.
Yeah, they're kind of interesting the way it works, but it seems crazy when you're experiencing it. You don't think of it as a dream, but you just know where to go and what to do, even though you've never been there before.
Yeah, I want to hear those stories on your podcast. Sounds cool. Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to move on for now.
Okay.
Because we're only on number 9. And why do we want to study ancient texts? Because it's useful to return to during times of uncertainty. And, maybe things are collapsing around you. Don't know. But they found that interest in ancient wisdom did increase during periods of rapid change. It's a different perspective, and it's a slower, longer perspective than this rapid culture that we live in. It's just fast-moving and hard to keep up with. So when society feels uncertain, they ask deeper questions. They want to know what has stood the test of time. What did ancients do in the past when they were facing things like this? What did they understand about what was going on? And what wisdom did they have that we've forgotten? I mean, we know there's a lot of practical wisdom when we've forgotten, grow a garden and see if you can feed yourself. So anyway, yeah, any comments on that, Kelly?
Well, what came to mind with that is just all the ancient temples in different those ones in South America, the ones in Turkey, that leave back the hieroglyphics of telling us, what they experienced back during their lifetime, what it was like, or the warnings that they give that, we're trying to figure out what they mean by those. And those are some of the wisdoms that we may have forgotten, but they're there in the stone, or they're there in the tablets, or they're there, in different pieces of cloth that give us ideas of what, they had back then, and what, how we can use it today and give us a better understanding of ourselves and of them. That's what came to my mind.
Sounds good to me.
So, anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. So, possibility number 10. Express archetypical archetypical, oh my gosh, I'm getting tongue-tied on the word, truths. Archetypes, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So, a lot of people talk about their archetypes and how they have their archetypes of their personalities, or what this person is expressing. It's kind of like the round table. You have a round table inside you, and you have all these archetypes around you. You have one of love, one child, one jealousy, one, trickster, one, I can't even think of them all. But anyways, they say, and you can sometimes see that in people, that they're expressing their archetypes, but they say that they're all around us, and we all possess some of them. Some are more upright, and some just are hidden and more desolate inside. And so there's ways of looking at ourselves through different archetypes and how we express in this lifetime. Right?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Christopher, and correct me if I'm wrong, he also teaches that everybody around us obviously is a part of ourselves, because we're all one.
Right.
And they're an archetype within us, and showing us what is within us. And if we really don't like something, we might want to look inside of us. That's the whole as within, so without. What we see outside of us is probably inside of us too. Or not that it's in there, I don't know how to say this, but there's an awareness of it, maybe. Like, there's a murderer. I'm not a murderer. I don't want to murder people. But there is that, I don't know if you can help me with this, explaining this, Kelly. Do you know where I'm going with
it? Maybe. What was coming to mind when you started talking about that was awareness of the different archetypes, and then what Joseph was talking about, just putting your attention and your attitude onto that archetype, so you have a better understanding of that archetype, and maybe why is that expressing, why is that showing, do I have the archetype of like Snow White, this, or is it a archetype of something else, and then you're expressing that in other people around you, or other people maybe expressing that makes you aware, like, oh, well, do I have that within me, or is that expression coming out of me through them, for me to see what is that message to me? Is that something to give me clarity, or is that something that I need to work on, and that's not a very nice archetype to be expressing, or or maybe this is a wonderful archetype and I need to learn how to express that one more. So as Joseph says, you got that awareness, attention, and attitude that you can use to help change those archetypes. Is that kind of where you were going?
Yes, and I would finish it off with, like, the murderer might be showing you who you don't want to be.
Yep.
Like, don't do that, because look at that murderer. Look at his consequence. Maybe, I don't know, or I don't know. Yeah, that's all. There was somewhere I was gonna go, but it left me.
It left you, and poof.
And it will come back.
It'll come back.
And yeah, I always found it interesting because we were talking about the round table as why it was round. Do you have a comment on that, or?
I don't know. I just feel like round is better than a square table.
It's prettier. It's that no archetype was more powerful than the other. They were all equal. They were equally spaced, equally distant. There was no head of the table, put it that way.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes. Now I remember. Yes. Thank you. I forgot the circle, and no one's higher than somebody else, and that's the way we all are. You're no higher than Joseph, and Joseph's no higher than me, and Trisha's no higher than you, and Linda's no higher than all of us, and we're all equal planes. But people forget that. People forget that, no one's better than anybody. We may all be unique, but we're all on the same playing field. So.
Yeah. And I didn't mention this to you earlier, but I'm in the middle of watching Excalibur, the version that Christopher recommended from 1981. One of the actors, a small role, he wasn't even listed in the main heading, was Patrick, Jean-Luc Picard. What was his name?
I don't know. I'm not the one to be asking.
Anyway, it's that one. It has no, I don't know who's in it. Something else I'm watching. I'm so confused. So anyway, okay, we're gonna move on. Christopher covers Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table quite well. So anyway, all right, we're gonna move on to the last one. They offer meaning in an age of information, so we just got so much information, we're overloaded. I know I am, and I just want to know it all, and I don't have time. But anyhow, today we know so many more facts, but we still struggle, and we struggle with speaking the right words, and we struggle with anxiety and depression, and what's our purpose, and in our relationships, and who am I, what's our identity, and do I feel fulfilled, and all that. But I think we return to ancient wisdom because it's not focused on learning facts and figures and that sort of thing. It's more cultivating the understanding. So that's why people are drawn to it, because we know all these facts, and is it really helping our lives? It actually makes it more confusing. Have you ever looked at Amazon reviews, and this is great and this sucks? And they're like, I don't know which one to buy. And there's 100 choices of a measuring cup.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I remember when Amazon was just books.
Yeah, not the big corporation it is now.
No, it's quite handy though. All right. So what's next, Kelly?
So next is a little bit of a personal perspective, just kind of drawing on some of this stuff. One gives you a perspective on where you're going on your spiritual journey, assesses you out of modern
So
day blah.
this is why you want to study it? Is that what you're saying? Why are
So
you even interested in ancient teachings?
just the way one is helping me understand me today and how life is today, and how the more I learn, the more it helps me understand me, but also helps me understand what it was like back then. Um, it also helps me evolve in my spirituality. It also gives me the wisdom to think deeper and to have a sense of who or what I am, um, and realizing that I am no one going nowhere with nothing to do.
Oh, but you're somebody. Kelly, I mean, yeah, you need to believe in yourself, Kelly. Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You can do it.
There you go. How about you, Kim?
Okay, so why am I interested in the ancient teachings is because I just want to know how things work. I want to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Searching for the truth. I want to know what's true, not just what people say, even though I wasn't there. I just want to know. I want to know what the secret hidden knowledge that they're hiding from humanity. They being the rulers behind the rulers, the rulers we don't even know who they are. Anyhow, I want to know history. I want to be a wise woman. I want to use the information to my advantage because, of course, we want to create great lives for ourselves. And that's kind of what we want to focus on in this series is how do we use this information, right? And I also want to use this information to help others, especially if it helps people heal and understand and forgive, have the acceptance and compassion for each other. Then I think it's worth the studying and sharing with others.
It's bettering me to be a better person.
Yeah, yeah. yeah.
I
And
guess that would sum it all up for me. I just want to be a better person.
yeah, I want to be the best. I want to be better than Kelly.
Yes, Kim.
I'm totally kidding, guys. So anyway, yeah, there was a story about I don't know if it's a story, but there was just a metaphor, I guess, like a compass, an old ancient compass. It's found. It's not valuable because it's old. I mean, you can have old stuff that's falling apart. That's not valuable. Maybe sentimental value, but that's not what we're talking here. But it's valuable if it works, if it points north. So that's why I think the ancient teachings are worth studying because people have found that they do work, that they point them north, they go in the right direction in their spiritual, physical, emotional lives. So it's they're still around. We can still get them, so they must have some value to them. What do you think?
I think I feel it just gives us value, something to shoot for, something to work on, something to live by, in a day where there's not a lot of um, people that take um, what's my word that I'm looking for, that take accountability for themselves. And I feel like the ancient teachings and just different ways of bettering oneself makes you more accountability to yourself and to others. And when you have that accountability and you have others around you that keep you accountable too, you end up being that better person, and in return you help change lives of others, and you help bring them along too. You change your vibration frequencies, you're going to help so many people.
Yeah, when you can master your own thoughts and feelings and all those aspects of yourself, then that's when you can help people.
You can help along the way still, too, when you're not there. You still help.
You're right. Yeah, you can help, of course.
You're constantly assisting. As you're evolving, you're assisting others. You okay? Okay. So while you're taking a drink of water to help with your cough, through the challenges of the audience, we communicate, across the globe. So question is, have we become better at communicating with people sitting across from us from dinner table?
No.
We went from sitting across from a dinner table having, great conversation to, oh my gosh, everybody at the dinner table's got their head in their phones and no one's talking to anybody. So has that become a challenge? I would say so. And what can we instantly across almost any, we are here to better understand ourselves, basically, through our challenges and through our audience and through what we're doing. We're here to maybe, how can we better ourselves,
Yeah. So maybe these teachings just survived the way great stories survive, because they illuminate the human experience. They help us understand ourselves in new ways, different ways, and grow. So we just figure out what these teachings can teach us.
So as we start to wrap up, we're going to go, we're going to start looking at Hermes. And Hermes was the messenger of gods. He was associated with language and communication and travel and commerce and trickery and guiding souls between worlds. Hermes became a god for Greece, and Thoth became the god for Egypt. So Egyptian god of wisdom was Thoth. He was writing mathematics, astronomy, sacred knowledge. Thoth had divine scribes who recorded his actions, both God and humans. Although they weren't identical, they both had sense of messaging of higher knowledge, keeping of wisdom, masters of language and communication, and bridging between the divine and the human worlds. These similar Greeks viewed Hermes and Thoth as different cultural expressions of the same underlying wisdom, and created a figure known as Hermes. Help me out, Kim.
Trismegistus.
Thank you. I was feeling that tongue tie coming on, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna go badly. So I figured I might as well have you put it out there so it doesn't get slaughtered.
So Hermes Trismegistus, who was he? He's the wisdom of him is, I want to say, a catalog, just to keep moving on, in the Kabbalion, the book by the three initiates. So his name literally means, Hermes means Greek god, Hermes. Tris means 3 times. Megistus means greatest. So Trismegistus is thrice greatest. So he's Hermes the thrice great, or 3 times greatest Hermes. So he appeared, this character, this archetype, this man, this god, unsure what he really was. He appeared in the Hellenistic period, which is about 323 BC to about 30 BC, when the Greek and Egyptian cultures merged. And the Greeks there, they noticed that the Egyptian god Thoth had many of the same attributes, qualities as their god Hermes. So they said, okay, we'll just kind of combine them and think they're the same entity. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But scholars generally believe that Hermes Trismegistus was not one historical person, that there were many wisdom leaders that contributed that wisdom. And I don't think scholars think he was a real god. Just saying, they didn't write that. And the scholars also think that this was written over centuries. So unless he was living centuries, which could have happened, I don't know. If he was using his attitude, awareness, and what's the other one? Attention correctly, he might have been able to keep living. So anyway, scholars just think that Hermes Trismegistus is an amalgamation, or what do you call it, a fusion of Thoth and the Greek god Hermes, the Egyptian Thoth, that they were connected in that way. So Kelly, tell us what we're going to be covering in the rest of the series.
So as we probably sometime next month, I'm not quite sure when we're going to be back on, but we're going to be featuring the Hermetic principles in depth. And the Hermetic principles have 7 of them. And the first one is mentalism. It is the reality becomes with mind and consciousness. How does the way we think and perceive shape our experience? Number 2 is the correspondences. As above, so below. As within, so without. The patterns connect the inner and the outer worlds. 3, vibration. Everything is in motion. Nothing is truly at rest. How do thoughts, emotions, energy, and even matter relate through vibration? Number 4 is polarity. Opposites are often different degrees of the same thing. Hot, cold, love, hate, confident, insecure. One, where does one end and the other one begin? You want to finish up the last 3, Kim? Kim, you're muted.
I am muted because my dog was barking. I said I would love to, but you didn't know that. So the 5th one is rhythm, because life moves in cycles with the seasons, highs and lows, expansion and contraction. We talked about that a bit. And so we want to know, can understanding rhythm help us navigate change with greater peace? Then we'll talk about cause and effect, because every effect has a cause, and every cause creates effects. And how much of our lives is intentional, and how much is driven by unconscious habits and choices. Because, you need to choose wisely, right?
Yes.
And you know what? If you choose wisely, nothing is impossible. Okay. That's all I got, I promise. All right, and the last one is gender, where every creative process involves complementary forces, masculine, feminine, right? So we're not talking biological sex, but what do masculine and feminine energies represent in nature, creativity, relationships, and personal growth? So we'll see where we go with that. We hope you join us.
There's lots there. So just want to put out there, thank you all for being with us this evening for our wonderful podcast. The next thing on the schedule for the, not the ministers, but the, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. Connection. Ooh, is on Monday, Joseph is doing a podcast, and then on Wednesday, Deb is doing a podcast. This Thursday, Christopher Timms is doing the Golden Thread. It's a 3-part series. If you go to your favorite website, Kim,
ChristopherTimms.com,
and look up the Golden Thread, you can look to see what is being offered for the Golden Thread and sign up there, and you can see it live in person or online. It'll be a great time, great information, so hopefully we'll see you all there. And then every Tuesday at 7:30, Christopher does his normal talks, and they're for free, so you can join him then. Kim.
Oh yeah, I wanted to let you all know, those who aren't live, if you want to join us live, 7:30 on those days that we mentioned, go to ChristopherTimms.com, and on the home page it will have a link or something that tells you how to get on to participate if you'd like to be our fans. Also share, and subscribe so the algorithms send them out to more people.
Yes. So
you want to say something before I end?
Nope.
I just wanted to share a quote from the Kabbalion. I think I'm saying it right. This is a famous one that is quoted a lot. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding. What do you think that means? That brings up a lot of questions, right? What's understanding? Is wisdom hidden, or do we simply fail to recognize it? Does wisdom reveal itself only when we're ready to receive it? Maybe. So I'm going to repeat it again. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. What does that mean to you? What do you think?
All wisdom isn't hidden unless you're ready to hear it. And when you're ready to hear it, you'll hear the wisdom, and you'll receive the knowledge and the wisdom to move forward in whatever journey you're on, whether that's spiritual, whether that's health, wellness. So it's when the student is ready, they will learn.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like you can talk to your blue in the face, but if they're not ready to hear it, just go out and do something else. I don't know.
Yep.
Just love them where they are, right?
Exactly. Yes. Love them where they are and just support them right where they're at until they're ready to move.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Do we have any last-minute questions or comments before we end the recording?
Oh, Joseph, that did not sound good. All right. I think we should just end it.